So, sorry this episode is late again. But honestly, part of that is just because the internet changed really fast this year. As a content creator, there is a degree of research required before every post, and as of late, I'll get the script done, and something will happen with current events, and I'll have to pivot. On the subject of being a content creator, AI tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Suno, you name it, even Siri as of late, and others made it possible for people to generate massive amounts of content fast. For example, my kid told Alexa to make a song, and I got an alert to my phone asking if I wanted to link Alexa to Suno. My kid is 8. So music, videos, artwork, scripts, entire channels, platforms that host all of this had to react. Algorithms, especially YouTube, seem to care a lot more about whether content is actually unique. YouTube had to actually rewrite their algorithm because now more people are ChatGPTing questions to things, whereas they used to just go find a video and do what they saw. And as a content creator myself, I have to be cognizant of the fact that this new iteration of the YouTube algorithm, if my video is not unique, it will only push it to my current subscribers. If I offer something that has not been offered before, it'll push it to everywhere else. And I get no say in the matter, and my lateness had something to do with that. The platforms are trying to figure out what's actually human, what's repetitive, and what people are actually connecting with. That changes the value of creativity itself. Not because AI replaces artists, but because it floods the market with content so that actual artists can't be seen. I know this goes against a lot of what I used to say about AI, but I don't think I'm contradicting myself in that artistry comes with different levels of difficulty. If I like to paint, but I am not good at painting, does that mean I am not an artist? If I am making a thing from nothing, but somebody else could make the same thing in a way that somebody who is not me would label as better, does that disqualify me from calling myself an artist? And music is the same. While I myself play 5 or 6 instruments, that is a skill that is rare. Most people will get really good at 1 or 2, whereas I am slightly above average at several. But that doesn't say that me and somebody else could not both be called musicians. And so this is the problem that AI has created, in that it gives people a skill that they might not have otherwise had. That might actually benefit people making real things with real perspective. I got into this thing, being YouTube, because I saw tons of videos on how to use Logic, but almost none aside from those on functionality and features on Logic Pro for iPad. So the uniqueness criteria is met, but then it's this value element that gives me trouble every week. If I'm the only one I can find saying a thing, but I say the same thing every week, I'm not adding value, I'm adding repetition, and this new algorithm no longer gives credit for repetition. I say this to say I'm just giving every week more thought, and so my lateness this week, I'm more or less just participating in algorithmic market research and ensuring I bring you, the audience, something of value consistently. Having said all of this week's vlog is semi-related. I just finished ranting about unique content creation, and I have 34 episodes so far on creating content, but realized I've never really talked about what to do with it after it's recorded, but before it's performed. And so today It's about listening to the song to make sure it's ready to be released. Not just hearing your mix, but actively listening to it, tweaking it, stress testing it, living with it for a minute before you send it out to the world. Once I've finished a recording, arranging, and mixing a song, mastering becomes its own beast. This video and the channel as a whole are unsponsored, and everything I mentioned today I have used or am using with funds out of my own pocket. In a professional studio environment, recording engineers and mastering engineers usually specialize in a specific genre. That's part of why studios work as fast as they do and why they cost as much as they do. You're paying experts who already know exactly what right sounds like for that style. And if you follow music production at all, you'll notice that certain names are tied to certain genres. That's not an accident. This is mostly true in studio environments. Production as a business is a whole different thing. Labels aren't experimenting, they're investing. So they hire the exact right person or people to get a predictable result every time. But me, I blend genres every week. And so now I've got a problem. Finding one person who can record, mix, and master across multiple genres before we even start talking about cost and credits, that gets complicated fast. So what do? I do it all myself. First, obviously, record it. Maybe recording it is second, because sometimes you have to write it, but I've already shown you my scratch pad, and so most of my songs are just me noodling, saying, I like that, loop it, build it out. Usually, I will do my recording with Logic's mastering assistant turned on, not because I'm mastering it, but because I want a rough idea of what the finished product is going to feel like. Is that technically correct? Probably not. Does it help me make better decisions faster? For sure. And so I do it. I'll be honest, I've completely rearranged songs after mixing just because I realized something worked better once space opened up. I get into my leveling and my automating. Once the mix is done, I turn the mastering assistant back off. I split everything into two groups. One main group, that's your lead instruments, your kicks, your snares, your basses, the things that define the song. And then the backing group, that's everything else. And a good way to test your main versus backing group, if I mute the backing group, I should be able to still hear the song the way I envisioned it. Obviously super stripped down, but I should be able to tell the melody is working with the chord progression and the rhythm. If I mute the mains, it should sound like a completely different song because the backing group is basically all harmonies. And I do it that way on purpose. Your accompaniment should never mirror your melody. You want some counterpoint, you want harmony, you want polyrhythms when you can. There should always be something that does not make the song feel linear. And the reason for this is because if everything is important, nothing is. Next, I mute the main output and solo just the backing group. I built a preset mastering chain just for the backing group. It's built to roll off the low end and pull back the highs, and then push the stereo elements more towards the outside. Then I hit it with a limiter, because if anything clips, it better be in the background. If I need something to pop, I'll put a little bit of it also into the main out, but the majority of it will stay in the backing group. Then I flip it, mute the backing group and solo everything else. Or I guess you could say just mute the backing group and unmute everything else. I have a separate preset mastering chain that I made, Chroma Glow for saturation, then a multiband compressor. If you've never used a multiband compressor, it's basically half equalizer, half compressor, where you can compress or expand specific frequencies instead of the whole mix. So if you need more thump, you can turn the ratio for your thump up. That's 55 hertz and down, but you can still turn your bass frequencies, so 60 to 190-ish down, so that the thump is more pronounced without overpowering. But that could be a whole discussion by itself. Then I do an exciter, then an expander. Sometimes I'll flip the order depending on what the end result is, and that's it. My mastering chain is pretty simple because the majority of my effects are built into the individual channels. But it's consistent. Every time I finish a song, I can just drag it over and tweak it. I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. I have been known to throw an EQ at the end just to look at the waveform, but I never turn it on. The second I start changing the chain, I will absolutely overthink it. And we are not opening that door. The second I see something I don't like, chances are it's in the channels themselves, but I'll try to fix something that probably wasn't broken if I go in and start redoing the whole chain. Now, this is where the fun happens. Once your mastering is done, you're going to export the song. Listen to it on what you normally use. So if you recorded it on your iPad, plug some earbuds in and listen to it on the iPad. I have a pair of the VSX immersion ones that I did not research before I bought them. They market them as studio speaker emulators, and I also have a pair of the Heavies and the MW75s where you can use Bluetooth to change the profiles. So when I saw them, I assumed that that's what it was. It is not. It is a VST that does not work with iPad. It works with MacBook. And so I have had these for 3 months and have yet to actually plug them into anything. I also have a USB-C DAC, and I could, in theory, plug this into the iPad and then plug the emerging ones into this, and this has presets on it, the same way that the VST does, but I just don't do that. And so I have these very expensive headphones that I think they sound okay. They are definitely comfortable to wear, but I've never actually listened to them. So if you recorded it on your iPad, if it sounds good, move it somewhere. So if I'm recording on my iPad, I'll move it to my phone, and then I'll Bluetooth a different set of headphones to the phone, listen to it again there. If it doesn't sound as good, if not better than it did on the iPad, we go back to the iPad and we make some changes. If it sounds good on the phone, move it again. So I'll take the phone out to the car and listen to it on my car speakers. If it doesn't sound as good on the car speakers as it did the headphones, go back in and make some adjustments again. And we just keep repeating this until we get something that sounds passable everywhere. Not perfect, passable. The important thing is never, ever, ever, ever start over. Fix one thing and then try it again. Don't fix 5 things, because if you fix 5 things, you've basically now got a whole brand new song. That's how you avoid turning a finished mix back into a rough draft. Once you, yourself, are happy with this thing, send it to somebody else. This is the most important step. Find somebody who is not you. And it has to be somebody who you trust to give you honest feedback. Give them no context. The minute you start having to excuse away your song before they hear it, you are no longer going to get an unbiased opinion. So what I will do is I will wait until my wife is in her car, and then I will text her a song. And CarPlay will play her the song without her permission. No warning. She hates this. I laugh every time. But here's the thing. An annoyed and unsuspecting listener will give you honest feedback. And it forces you to be honest too. If we think about this, you're not going to send something you know is broken. So it makes you be honest with yourself and ask yourself, is this ready to send? And then you are more receptive to the feedback you get, so that you can go back and do a second pass with your mastering and your mixing. Once my wife gives it the okay, I send it to my kids. I have 3 children. All of them have very different personalities. If my youngest daughter starts to dance immediately, I know I've got a winner. If my son is singing it by the end of the song, we've got a winner. Most importantly, if my teenager puts down her phone long enough to listen to the song all the way through, just things to kind of think about as you're testing your song and getting it ready for strangers to hear. Once the mix passes all of the tests, now it's time to release it. You don't need a label, you just need a distributor. Platforms like DistroKid, TuneCore, Lander, and CD Baby will all put your track everywhere. I have used all 4 of them. I know there are others. Be very careful about the ones who promise Spotify plays, because Spotify is shutting off bot accounts, and some distributors, the less reputable distributors, use bots to spam and get listens. Spotify is onto them and is getting rid of them, as is YouTube. You're going to upload your WAV files. The minimum bit depth is 24 bits. A lot of them will accept 48 or 96. The higher you go, the more detailed it is, but that's only half the battle, because while things upload in one resolution, they are not necessarily played in the same resolution. So if I upload a song in 24-bit and somebody has their settings set to 24, it'll sound the same as when I uploaded it. If somebody has their settings set to 96, it will still sound the same as a 24, but if I reverse the numbers, the same is not true. Meaning if I upload it 96 bits and somebody has their settings set for 24, they're not going to get the same clarity as what I uploaded. So considering each size creates a different size file, it's something just to keep in the back of your mind when you're deciding which file to upload. With more platforms supporting Dolby Atmos, those files are massive. The Atmos song I uploaded, my only Atmos song uploaded to date, was 1.5 gig, and it took 3 hours to upload, which is probably why I haven't done another one since then, because I have things to do. After you upload your song, you're going to add your artwork. I've seen so many videos on how to use ChatGPT, Canvas. There's a bunch of platforms that just came out with the Apple Creator Suite. Artwork is the easiest part of all of this. If you have an idea in your head, if you can describe it, there are multiple tools out there to make it. Next, you're going to enter your metadata. This is important because if a song is not 100% yours, this is where you need to put the person who it belongs to's name. So if you upload a cover, within the metadata, you have to say, this is a cover. Or if you co-wrote the song with someone, within the metadata, you have to say, written by me and this other person, or people. Or if you wrote the lyrics, but somebody else put it to a melody. Like, my point is, the metadata is where you give people their credit, and if you don't, anything you make, they will be entitled to a portion thereof if they don't have your content removed altogether. So this is important. After the metadata, you're going to pick a release date. Everyone does this differently. If you pick a date that is the day you're uploading, everything will appear on the platforms staggered. If you pick a date far out, everything will get to the platform staggered, but will become available for public access at the same time. So depending on how much planning you've put into this thing and what your promotional ideas are, if your distributor says Spotify will be 48 hours, Apple will be a week, Amazon will be 3 weeks, if you pick a release date 4 weeks from now and send it today, it will go live everywhere at the same time, and you have up until then to tell everybody, keep an eye on it, which is really good for like engagement purposes. And so it's an option. I normally just say release it right away because I know based on my metrics, most people are listening to my stuff via YouTube and or Spotify, and those are relatively quick. Once it's done, that's it. Your song exists, which is a very weird feeling the first time it happens, because you go from this is my project to this is now publicly available and I can't take it back. So maybe listen to it one more time before you hit submit. Just saying. Now, if you're using AI tools in your workflow, there's a couple caveats you should be aware of, because every distributor's handling of AI music is different. As of April of 2026, TuneCore was very anti-AI generated music. But then I got an email 2 weeks ago from TuneCore saying that if you produce music using Google Flow, you can post it using TuneCore, which is very not what they did for Suno, which I get. At the moment, they generally won't accept fully AI-generated tracks unless they come from Flow. And they, I mean TuneCore. And Flow is interesting because it's basically all prompt-based music generation. Suno is also prompt-based, but depending on your subscription, there is some editing and a DAW-style interface. Flow doesn't do all that. Flow, it's just all words. You type the prompts, music appears, that's the workflow. I haven't dug deep into the terms of service yet, so I don't know how licensing and ownership works for Flow. And frankly, that part matters more than the technology. Because, as I said previously, generating music is easy now. Owning it and getting paid for it, not so much. But as I've also said, the money has never been in the streams. The money is in live performance. So if you can get yourself something for people to hold and then say, come do this for me, that's when you make your money. That whole part is still being figured out. AI didn't just change art, it changed access to it. When anybody can generate a song, a thumbnail, a script, a voiceover, a logo, a video in an afternoon, the value of the thing shifts. The bottleneck used to be production, now the bottleneck is attention. That's why I think platforms are changing how they push content. If 10,000 people can generate technically good content instantly, the algorithm itself has to start looking for something else. Perspective, authenticity, uniqueness, human connection. And weirdly enough, that gives independent artists an opportunity because human beings, being human, is suddenly differentiating again. So, having said all of this, the most important skill isn't mixing. It's not mastering. It's not even recording. It's listening. Because the better you get at listening, the less you need to fix. And the more you are listened to, the more opportunities you will have for everything else. That's it for this week. Remember, the book is still available on the website, www.thebackpackcomposer.com. The ebook is also available on the website. The Backpack Composer backpacks are available on the website, as are hoodies, hats, t-shirts. We're doing big things in 2026. But that's it for this week. If you're out there making music, keep going. Feel free to share some stuff with me. Let's collaborate. If you want a second opinion on anything, all of my contact information is also on the website. As I have always said and will continue to say, I should put it on one of those t-shirts. Your talent and your artistic vision are enough. If you're doing it on the go like me, or even if you're not, may your gear be light, your latency low, and your dogs quiet while you track vocals. Peace.